Okay. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com, Restored Motions, RestoredMotions.com, and ProCharge, ProChargeEV.com. Hope your Tuesday off to a great start so far. Gonna head over to Traction, get a workout in, and get this day rolling. LSU reports for fall camp today. And still haven't gotten the schedule yet, which is so weird. Usually we get the camp schedule a couple weeks in advance, like to know when they're practicing, when the media availability is, all that stuff. Still have not gotten that. I'm checking my email right now. Yep, nope, haven't gotten it. I do have an email from my neighbor. I do have an email from my neighbor that a pool float has flew away in the weather yesterday. Anyway, Reed rule, check your spam. No, Reed, it's not a terrible idea. But I don't know why an email from Michael Bonnet would go into my spam. I get emails from Michael Bonnet all the time. Yeah, no, not in the spam. But, well, you know, so we like nobody's gotten it. So just a little weird. Anyway, so looking forward to seeing what the practice schedule will be, what the media availability will be. Obviously, we had sort of unprecedented access a year ago, so hoping for the same this year. And, yeah, I maintain, part of me maintains anyway, that, you know, one of the reasons Brian Kelly gave us so much access last year was so we could see the team and we could very clearly see their flaws, and to maybe try to temper expectations a bit so as to say, yeah, they're really not that good. And they weren't. They struggled a good bit in camp. You saw it manifest early, right, with the loss to Florida State, a lot of the offensive line issues. But then they beat Southern, and Mississippi State kind of found their footing. And, you know, after the Tennessee loss, then we're really sprinting full on. So anyway, so fall camp will be underway this week. Saints on the practice field. First day of full pads was yesterday, and Andrews Peat unfortunately left with an injury. You know, guy's just been injury prone his whole career. Hopefully it's nothing serious. So all right, let's say some good morning, see what y'all got. You know the drill. Devin Johnson. Let's see, no one's really talking about Tennessee this year. I think they have a breakout year. Josh H. seems to have his grip for me. So, Devin, I wouldn't say that they would have a breakout year. I think 11 games and an Orange Bowl win was the breakout last year. You know, the question for them is, you know, was last year a flash in the pan, or can they sustain it? So, I actually have talked a good bit about Tennessee, because I do think that's a pretty fascinating story. Whereas, you know, Georgia remains kind of the dominant team in the East, but I will present to you, if you have not looked at Tennessee's schedule, let's do this. Because remember, the East is the East is pretty weak. We've all talked about how easy Georgia's road is because how weak the East is. Here's Tennessee's. You ready? Virginia at home. Austin Peay at Florida. So week 3 at Florida. Again, Florida not projected to be very good. Still always tough place to play. And that's already been stated. That's going to be a 6 o'clock game on ESPN. So it's a night game on ESPN at the Swamp. Okay. UTSA, home against South Carolina, home against A&M. At Bama, at Kentucky, UConn, at Missouri, Georgia, Vanderbilt. So the Bama game, and by the way, their open date comes after the South Carolina game. So South Carolina open date, home against A&M at Bama. Even if you lose at Bama, if you're Tennessee, in theory, that should be your only loss. You always could drop another game, but then you'd be playing Georgia at home. If Georgia's undefeated, you'd be playing Georgia at home for the East. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. I think Tennessee's got a great opportunity to go into the Georgia game at home as a undefeated or one-loss team. I'm not saying they will. I said they have a great opportunity to do it. Trivia Carter, Weston Weaver, Brian Penton, good morning from Whitehead, Indiana. Okay. Reed Rule, good morning. Larry Garner, Brett DeGrow, good morning. And will be trade deadline today. Could be a wild one. Could be. As I've typically found, though, Brett, we build up trade deadlines to be really massive, and very seldom are they. So, okay. Cajun Country, what's going on? Can I get a birthday shout out to my son, Brendan, 9 years old. Injuries on Saints O-line is getting me Turner Peat Penning. First of all, absolutely, Sean. So shout out to Brendan. Happy 9th birthday. Hope your day is awesome and you get to go to the movies and to the water park and to the play laser tag and I don't know whatever else, if that's what all kids do, but all the fun stuff. Hope you have a great birthday party and get to eat lots of cake and get all the presents that you want and are celebrated and feel special on your big day. So happy 9th birthday, Brendan. Hope your day is awesome. Let's see. JDN44, good morning. Sorry, one second, y'all. Bada boom, bada bing, bada bing, bada bing, boom, 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 boom. Okay. Well, real quick, back to Sean's question. So Turner, Peat, and Penning. So we know Trey Turner's done for the year, right? And I think a best case for Trey Turner was that he would make the team, and kind of push Peat and Ruiz. And if one of them got hurt, you got a really veteran guy as your backup. Now you got Throckmorton there as well, who's played a good bit in that role. Peat, we'll see, but it didn't seem too severe. And then Trevor Penning, whatever the foot thing that he had last week, he was back on the practice field. So that was likely nothing. So sounds like, while Trey Turner was very serious, the other two may not be. Let's see, JDN44, Jimmy Graham was going off at practice yesterday. I think they keep him, Matt. If he keeps doing that all training camp, I agree. Yeah. What will be really interesting is who then becomes a roster cut, and what position do they carry less of? I mean, keep in mind, if you carry a fourth tight end, because technically Taysom Hill's listed as a tight end, whether you consider that or not, if you're keeping Foster Moreau, Juwan Johnson, Jimmy Graham, Taysom Hill. Sorry if that Drew's backpack people. If you're keeping 4 tight ends, and if you're keeping 3 quarterbacks, right? Because you got to keep Jay Kaner. That's what the general consensus is. You don't want him to. I'd be curious to see if he would actually get signed off practice squad. Because remember, if he gets signed off practice squad, someone has to sign him to their active roster. So somebody would have to still carry a third quarterback. But for the sake of conversation, let's assume that they do keep Haener on the 53. Okay. So if you keep Haener and a 4th tight end, where are you keeping less? I mean, you have to look at positions that carry a lot of bodies. Like, do you carry 1 less defensive back? Do you carry 1 less offensive lineman? That makes a versatile offensive lineman even more valuable, like James Hurst, who can play 4 of the 5 positions. Like Max Garcia, who can play any of the 3 interior positions, can play center or either guard. So, but are you really you're not going to cut Nick Saldiveri, who's a 4th round pick this year. I'll be very interested to see how they get creative to make that work, if it comes down to that. We have seen in the past, sometimes guys, look at DeMarco Jackson a year ago, the linebacker. They put him on injured reserve and stashed him for a year. So does someone have an injury, a rookie have an injury, and they just they get stashed for a year? Maybe. What they did with DeMarco Jackson. All right. Let's see. Hunter Broadhead, Florida's going to surprise some teams. I'm not so sure I believe that, Hunter. I think Vegas has them at 6.5, and that feels right. I mean, their schedule is brutal. And I still don't think they're, certainly haven't figured out quarterback. And, just look at the schedule. They open up at Utah. They're in Salt Lake at Utah. Okay. Then they play McNeese and Tennessee at home and Charlotte. So you get to sort of ease into, you sandwich Tennessee with McNeese and Charlotte. But then you got to go on the road to Kentucky. And I think Kentucky is the team that this year, Kentucky returns a ton of experience. So Kentucky's going to have a ton of 4th and 5th year guys. That's going to be the really tricky thing about Kentucky this year. And of course, Devin Leary at quarterback. So that's I would favor Kentucky over Florida in that game. Then Florida's at home against Vanderbilt. They got to go to South Carolina. They get Georgia at home, but you're still not going to beat Georgia. They get Arkansas at home. Then they have to go at LSU, at Missouri, home against Florida State. I'll give you McNeese and Charlotte. I'll give you Vanderbilt. Although you're at home. Although Vanderbilt beat Florida last year, but that game is in the Swamp. I'll give them those 3. Find me 4 more wins. Utah, Tennessee, at Kentucky, at South Carolina, Georgia, Arkansas, at LSU, at Missouri, Florida State. Where are they favored? Maybe they're favored at home against Arkansas. They're not going to be favored at Utah. I don't think they're going to be favored at Kentucky. Close at South Carolina, but Carolina's probably favored. They're not going to be favored at home against Georgia. Maybe Arkansas. They're not going to be favored at LSU. At Missouri, maybe. Home against Florida State. I don't know who they're going to surprise. Let's see. Smash that like button if you would. Please subscribe up to the channel if you're new. Facebook, please like the Matt Scone page, share the post. Appreciate y'all as always. Bubba Smith, good morning. Kelly Presley, good morning. Jim Arsenault, good morning. Kelly Gross, Rashad Bolden, good morning. Jason Horn, what's up? Nick Ori, good morning. Carson Stevenson, appreciate y'all for being here, man. Y'all have a great morning. Have a great day. Brad David, do you think Nebraska will ever be relevant like they were in the 90s? So relevant like they were in the 90s, no. You got to keep in mind, man, that they had a run where, let's see, they won the Natty. See, they went back-to-back 94, 95, right? And then they shared the title in 97 with Michigan. 3 titles in 4 years. And a perennial top 10, top 5 program. No, I don't believe that, Brad. Nebraska is one of those teams that has suffered as a result of the expansion of college football, like Notre Dame. And really what you see is programs that had a historical advantage because they were really good programs. Tennessee's another one, because they're really good programs, and so they were on TV a lot. And they had a name brand, and they had a lot of that going for them when they would go recruit. The problem is they're in states that aren't talent rich. There's no talent in Indiana. There's no talent. Tennessee isn't a great high school football state. Nebraska is a terrible high school football state. So, if you're going to win there, you've got to recruit nationally. And it's really hard to justify, if you're a 5-star athlete, going to Nebraska. Why would you go in the Midwest? In Lincoln, Nebraska. I mean, where it's going to snow 9 months out of the year. It's going to be freezing cold. You're a 5-star quarterback, or you're a running back from Miami, or a defensive end from Texas. Why are you going to Nebraska when you could go to Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Texas A&M, Southern Cal? You know what I mean? Like, there's an appeal there that doesn't exist with Nebraska. So, the advantage that LSU has is Louisiana is a talent-rich state. We talk about it all the time. I mean, Will Campbell, Emory Jones, Lance Hurd. The best example is when Brian Kelly got hired at LSU. The first thing he did was he drove 5 minutes from LSU to Catholic High and saw Emory Jones and Shelton Sampson. And then he drove 15 minutes south and saw Ricky Collins. And then he drove 5 minutes west of LSU and saw the running back at Liberty Magnet. And then he drove 15 minutes north of LSU and saw the safety at Zachary. You know what I mean? Like, then maybe you hopped on a puddle jumper or the LSU PJ, and in 10 minutes you were in Monroe and you went and saw Will Campbell. I mean, and Lance Hurd. You see what I mean? It's the advantage LSU will always have, is that Louisiana is a talent-rich state, and you're the only Power 5. You're not competing in state for kids. Did you see the picture of that kid who committed yesterday? Joe Cryer, the big offensive lineman out of Natchitoches Central. Like, he's got a picture of him as a baby holding a little LSU football. Kid from North Louisiana. He went to He started his career at Manny, now he's at Natchitoches Central. But it's like, that kid was committed to Ole Miss, but as soon as he got the LSU offer, he decommits from Ole Miss and flips to LSU. Why? Because he's a Louisiana kid who always wanted to go to LSU. So that's the advantage LSU's always going to have, man. That, a long way of answering your question. But Nebraska doesn't have that because there ain't a lot of players in Nebraska. Like, let me actually illustrate this for you. All right. I'm going to look up this current recruiting class, 2024. The state of Nebraska. The highest ranked player in the state of Nebraska is Carter Nelson. He's a 4-star tight end. The second highest ranked player is Daniel Kalen. He's a quarterback who's the number 233 player in the country. So Carter Nelson, tight end, number 1 player in Nebraska, is a 4-star. He's the number 40 overall prospect in the country, the number 2 tight end in the country. So good tight end. Keep in mind, so the best player in Nebraska, ranked 40th nationally. The second best player in Nebraska, ranked 233rd nationally. the third best player in Nebraska, Davon Hall, does not have a national ranking. The third best player in the state does not have a national ranking. So, by contrast, look at Louisiana. Dominic McKinley, 5-star, number 31 nationally. Deshaun McBride, 4-star, number 73 nationally. Kylan Billiot, 4-star, number 105 nationally. Tradez Green, 4-star, number 108. Tylen Singleton, 4-star, number 150. Juwan Johnson, 4-star, number 230. Wardell Mack, 4-star, number 231. So remember, Nebraska's number 2 guy in their state was ranked 233 overall. Louisiana has 7 guys inside of 233. And actually, if you want to do it, Kalaj Collins is 235. So Louisiana's got 8 players inside the top 230 nationally. Nebraska's got 2. That's the difference. And all those kids want to go to Louisiana. All those kids want to go to LSU. Okay. Any more? We might be about to go if there's no more questions. Oh, well, let's see. Shout out Facebook. Nick Ori dropped the oldest boy off for 7th grade football practice of the year here in Katy, Texas. Going to be a good one. Okay, man. That's awesome. Carson Stevenson, with football starting this month, do you happen to know why Week 0 was created? The games are usually not exciting, so I was wondering why Week 0 exists at all. TV, brother. The first week, I think the first year they did Week 0, if I recall, they had Florida played Miami. So you had a really good game. I think it was just an opportunity to extend the season and have another week of games, another week of football on TV. Last year, remember Nebraska played, went to Nebraska Northwestern over in Ireland. That's why. Just another week of TV games. Brent Roban, morning Scone. Thanks for all you do. It's my escape from living in the heart of all country. These fans up here are relentless. Quentin Breakbill, Rick Manuel, good morning. Thank you, man. Dustin Landry, are the 2 Nebraska players actually going to Nebraska? They are, yeah. So the top 4 players from the state that are committed to Nebraska right now. I know there's probably someone jumping aboard going, why are you talking about Nebraska? So there was a question from Brad asking if Nebraska will ever return to form in the 90s. And then I said no, because they're not going to be able to get the players they were able to get in the 90s. People from all over the country in the 90s wanted to go to Nebraska because they sold out their games. They were always on TV. They won a lot. But you have to recruit nationally at Nebraska. You just can't do that anymore. So for example, Lawrence Phillips, who is, great running back in Nebraska, is from Little Rock, Arkansas. Let's see. Tommy Frazier's from Bradenton, Florida. You know what I mean? Like, Nebraska's not going to Bradenton, Florida to get a quarterback anymore. What are we talking about here? You know what I mean? Dominic Raiola was from Honolulu. You see my point? Like, Nebraska's just not going to get those players anymore. You're just not. Like, Nebraska's not going to Bradenton, Florida to get Tommy Frazier in the year 2023. It's just not happening. They're not going into Little Rock, Arkansas to get Lawrence Phillips. Jeff Richmond, what's up? Okay, I think we're just about done. Let's see. Jew for Morning Matt, as program director, will it ever be possible to catch Live at Lunch in Cenla? We already catch OTB and AFR and FM. we're always open to that. I'll tell you that the tough part is I know every affiliate that's not a me decision. That's a Cenla broadcasting decision. But every ESPN affiliate is mandated to carry certain amount of prime program hours in the day of ESPN national programming. And so I don't know if it could work in their lineup, is a long way to put it, short way to put it. Wendell Norman, good morning. Okay, y'all, I think we're just about done. Thanks for watching as always. Shout out to Brock, the Banner's Orthopedic Clinic, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Yeah, Jeff's asking what are the chances on Caden Durham. Caden Durham's the running back out of Texas. I don't have any inside information, man. I can just tell you what the recruiting guys say, which is that LSU's really confident, and I think Durham is kind of the LSU lean. And they want Durham and Simmons. Obviously, Simmons is the number one player in the country who's an edge rusher and their high school teammates. So I think they feel better about Durham, but you'd love to get them both. Right. Thanks so much for watching. Y'all have a great day. As always, again, shout out to Brock. You need an orthopedist, go to Brock, brortho.com, and Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Man, the awful weather yesterday. I'm sure many of y'all saw it. Hail, high wind, they were down trees. I mean, it was like, in some places, tropical force winds. So if you had damage, we're happy to help. I mean, we immediately yesterday had our crews on roofs. Unfortunately, some people had trees on their roofs and through their roofs, but we were helping people immediately yesterday with tree removal and tarp placement. So anyway, so if y'all need help, we'd love to help. Let us know. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Do business with someone you know. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Okay, y'all have a great day. LSU Daily is live, so y'all check out the pod on your favorite podcast app. And AFR3.